Now, this is something that I might be too embarrassed because some people like baseball a lot more than me, but I've done readings for the Poetry Bomb. Light's coming in, ruining my shirt. Anyway, when I did the Poetry Bomb the year before I left Chicago, I said, I'm going to go in front of Wrigley Field. Which, you know, the Cubs weren't doing well, and so I'm like, I'm going to come up with baseball-themed poems. Sorry, because I'm not a baseball fan. I'm like, let me see what I can find for this. And then I moved away, and then they won the World Series the next year. And I'm like, well,
that's why.
Because of me, because it's me around. It wasn't a goat. It wasn't a century-old thing. I had no idea. It was all me. Yeah, we joked about that, and never mind. I won't talk about it. Anyway, but I decided for one Poetry Bomb that I would go in front of Wrigley Field and read poems. And so I have some of them in this Down in the Dirt issue collection book from September to December 2023 that is titled Instant Karma. Instant! You didn't realize you can get instant karma from this book, but it's Instant Karma, which is named after an accepted writing within the book. Anywho, and I shouldn't cover up a Buddha head, that doesn't seem fair, but I thought I'd share with you 3 different poems that were baseball themed that were in this feature. I might have a photo in here that's really tiny from a video still from it, but anywho, just forgive me for any baseball mistakes I might make in this. This first one is titled Bases Loaded, which is actually the name of the chapbook that was released with the 2015 Poetry Bomb for this. Bases Loaded. You men talk about bases, but this is how the bases are supposed to go. First base, you go out for drinks and you make out standing outside your car for far too long. Second base might entail sex. Anywhere, anytime, because I mean, a girl has needs too. Third base, that's when he spits out the big words first. The big 3. I love you. And you're caught off guard. Wait a minute. You can't say I love you back unless you think you could spend the rest of your life with them, unless you could see yourself marrying them. So you mentally stop. Think about this. You can't make them wait for over 6 seconds while you're doing this right now. So quick, what's your choice? That's when it becomes so easy to look up at them and say, I love you too. What's fourth base? Yeah, I think you know where this is going. And that's when he takes you out to dinner. The maitre d' seats you at the best table in the house, and before the appetizers come, he gets down on one knee, pulls out a ring that's far too much diamond, and asks for your hand in marriage. Because, boys, that's how we see the bases, and that's how you've really hit a home run. All right. Not really baseball theme, but there you go. And that's sort of about what happened with John and I, just with the getting down on the knee and all that goofy stuff. And he asked me, he's like, I love you. And I'm like, what? And I'm one of those people that, like, I can't say I love you back in a relationship like that unless I really think that I would spend the rest of my life with them. I can't, I mean, you can love somebody as a person, I get that, you have friends that you love, but to be in love with somebody is a different thing altogether. So you just have to, I'm like, yeah, I could spend the rest of my life with it. I mean, it's just those weird, anyway, sorry. All right, maybe this one is actually more about baseball, and it's more funny, and it would be funnier if you knew Chicago, the area, because this is all around by Wrigley Field. This one's called Somebody Scoring Somewhere. I could walk into the bar, Sluggers, right across the street from the Chicago Cubs Wrigley Field. I could walk into the bar and talk to men there. And if I said, if you work at it, I bet you could find somebody to really play ball with here. Maybe you could swing that bat of yours, make it past first, second, and third base. Maybe you could even score a home run. And if I said that to men at a bar across the street from an honored baseball field, I'll bet most of those men wouldn't be thinking of baseball at all. Because that's the way a man's mind works. Everything can be reduced to a sexual conquest. Get a woman too drunk to protest, because if you can get her drunk enough, Maybe you can even score. If you think I'm kidding, know that a study was done of college-aged men recently. They all seem to agree that rape was wrong. But at the same time, upwards of 2/3 of these men planned to get a woman drunk enough that they could sexually force themselves upon her. What a way to score, boys. Because as you see it, it doesn't matter how the women feel. It only matters who scores the most. Because in your mindsets, that's who wins the game. That was just a weird one because I know that, and I worked for an acquaintance rape workshop facilitator in college, and yes, goofy old videos still of me reading in front of Wrigley Field. That's all I've got from the thing. But oh boy. But you know, these are the things that are true. And no, I'm not saying that this has anything to do with the gentleman that I'm reading these to here. I promise. But these stats do exist. I mean, I wrote this thing about how a fraternity rapist president in Waco just like raped a woman and left her bloody for dead on the street, and she tried to press charges, and he went to a plea deal and got out of everything. And it's like, I can't believe this happened. Sorry, but that's another poem, and I shouldn't be talking about that. I should be mentioning the last poem that is in this series.
But of course, like E. Jean Carroll, they could come down with $53 million. Thank God she won.
Let me get this last poem out, just because I set it up for that, and it's a few, and it even mentions Sears Tower. This is titled "New to Chicago," and it's the 2015 baseball edition for this feature, for this reading. I'm still new to this city. I know. I've lived here for years, but I haven't gone to a Cubs game in years, and I haven't been to a White Sox game in even longer. And I haven't gone to the Sears Tower Observatory, now the Willis Tower, since my junior prom. But when I walk by the First Chicago building, that building downtown, right by the center of the loop, with beams along the sides that are just sloping up, the parabolic pillars curving up toward the sky. When I walk by the First Chicago building, I walk up along the side and lean up against one of those sloping pillars. And I press my body against that cold concrete. I feel the cold against my chin, my breasts, my thighs. And I look up along that curve, stretching up toward the sky. You know, these pillars look like racetracks, and I could see something come rushing down that curve. A matchbox car, a race car, a marble, a baseball, a bowling ball, a 2-ton weight. I see the speed, the power, and it almost makes me afraid to look up. But every time I walk by that First Chicago building, I do the same thing. I do this little ritual, and it feels like the first time.
You could call out when you talk about pressing your thighs and your breast against it, a fucking Chicago.
And I think at one point John even took a picture of me like far back, and I'm like, I'm just gonna lean up against the curve. It's just, I mean, I think it's been renamed so many different things and named after different banks or whatever that it hasn't been called the First Chicago building in so long, but I thought that'd be a way to bring up the Chicago name if I just leave that in there. And, you know, you say things that way to make you think, and it feels like the first time. So, anywho, so that is that one for you. They're not all baseball themed quite, but, you know, references were made for different sorts of things.
I will send you a real baseball poem about one of my heroes.
I know you've read a few of them to me, so I'm not sure if I know of them, but I don't know. But yeah, you've got that. And I will look for your snail mail address, because I will send you that book. I most definitely will. And I will sign it for you. I think you were scripting, so I will sign it something. I'll just do something. I don't know what. extraordinary. But it's from this press in India. Anyway, I'm just gonna stop talking about that and say thank you. You guys are triple plus awesome. You guys are my favorite men. You guys are awesome. You really, really are. And I don't know when the first Sunday is in April, but it's going to happen, and we will have a get together. If I don't know if we're going to change a time for it. I think it should remain the first Sunday.
Well, I'd leave it the same time, and I know Therese Brazil and the Zaslin wanted to come, so that's two more. Susan apologized. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, and Sierra Blecka, who was here before and hasn't been in a while, she's like, "I'm gonna come. I've got a poem," and she's like, "No, I've got to drop my kid off, and I can't." And I'm like, "Okay, but you're always welcome." And Lorna said she couldn't make it, and so I get it. But but that's what we're here for each other, and I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I really, really do. And people are texting me, and I think somebody likes something, but I'm doing a live feed, so thank you. You have to wave to them on that camera. What? That's Janet the Luddite. But you guys are triple plus awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I love each and every one of you. You guys are awesome. Thank you for putting up with us. And we will see you hopefully on the 1st. I'm going to make sure I get my live feed off. Well, the 1st of Sunday for April as well. And thank you guys so much. Thank you.
Good night, Ellen.
Good night, my angel. Thank you. Good night.